download tokens, Google tokens, or you can buy even like UB keys from online stores. Try to make sure you're using MFA. You can use a password, and then you can maybe kind of add a token to the configuration. Another good best practice is micro-segmenting your environments. What I mean by that is you can set up EC2 instances within a VPC, and then you can break it down into different subnets. So you can say, I'm going to have some resources in a private subnet. I'm going to have some other resources in a public subnet. So you kind of spread everything across. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. And when you have VPCs, you may want to enable security groups to secure your EC2 instances, and you can basically use SELs to secure our subnets. Okay. Any question on that? Okay. The next one I always talk about is using AWS features or services. There's something called CloudTrail and CloudWatch. CloudTrail is basically, it's going to audit all the APIs you are making. And I think at some point I'm going to demo on CloudTrail. What I mean by that is if you log into the console, that's already an API call you've just made. So what is going to capture that API call and store it and kind of put it in as an audit trail. CloudWatch basically helps you understand what's happening in your environment. It captures things like what's happening to your EC2 instances, if they're running out of memory, or they're shutting down for no reason. CloudWatch is going to monitor those kind of things. And I always tell people to store everything, all those logs into a SIEM, like maybe Splunk or Azure Sentinel. The other one that's very critical is securing data at rest and in transit. So in AWS, we do have what we call S3 buckets, or we have EBS volumes. Always make sure if you are sending data to someone, you better use TLS encryption. If you're storing data on a bucket, make sure you're enabling 256-bit encryption. That's going to basically encrypt your data at rest. The other next bullet is on turning on VPC flow logs. When you have a VPC running, you should always make sure you're monitoring what's going on in that VPC. And you can only do that by turning VPC flow logs on, and it captures those logs and send them to a dedicated solution. The other best practice you guys can think of, and maybe you can kind of talk to your companies, is enabling what we call guard duty and AWS config, and even Amazon Macie. Those three solutions, basically, guard duty is kind of a data protection. AWS config monitors all the changes that are happening within your enterprise or within your console or within your all resources. Amazon Macie is basically an intelligence tool, is using machine learning and artificial intelligence to tell you where data is stored. So let's say if you're having critical data stored in a bucket somewhere, Amazon Macie is going to pinpoint that and it's going to tell you, hey, do you know you have this kind of data in an S3 bucket? So it's always good to know where your data is stored within your enterprise. The other one, another best practice is to permit access logging for elastic load balancers. It's always good to stand those on so that you can log what's happening in your ELBs or in your network load balancers, and capture those logs and send them to like a SIEM, like a Splunk or Azure Sentinel. And those logs are basically should be reviewed by the SOC team or the other people who are working in the data center. They can go through those logs and monitor and kind of pinpoint where there are suspicious activities. So in a nutshell, this is just at a high level some of the things you guys can think about if you're working for an organization, if you're a security admin. These are some of the things you just may want to look into when you're setting up your environment. Any question on this? Did someone ask a question or?
I have a question.
Sure.
So is there a SIEM tool that comes with AWS, or that's something you have to sort third party?
Is there what?
A SIEM tool.
Oh no, I would suggest you guys look into external tools. Splunk is one of the best tools. IBM has something called Logstash. That's another best tool. And you can even get if you have Azure and AWS in your environment, you can also use Azure Sentinel, which is kind of a free solution. So It's always good to get something that is dedicated that's outside of AWS. For some reason, 2022, Amazon Web Services don't really have a proper SIEM. I think they've been working on it for a couple of years now, but it's always good to look into a third-party solution.
Okay.
Yep. Any other question? Comment? Okay. So I'll move to the next slide. Let me see here. Now, you guys, you won't be able to see this. I'm so sorry about this. I'm going to have to go back to the other format for you guys to see this. It's very tiny. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm going to share these slides, okay? This is just a list of AWS security services. You know, you can get these online, or you can get this if you have access to a console. You can log in and pull them down. I just kind of did a screenshot, but it came out not pretty good. So it's just a breakdown of what we've been talking about here. So I don't know if you guys can see. I can't even see myself. Right, the first one here is IAM services. It just tells you what it is and where basically what kind of services are offered within AWS. So like Amazon Cognito, AWS Directory Service, Identity Access Management, and also Identity Access Management. I am up here. Down here we have like a detection tool. It also tells you what it is down here in this column. And then it gives you examples of detection tools. So Security Hub, GuardDuty, Inspector, Config, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Shield, Network Firewall, and IoT Device Defender. Again, I'm going to share this slide so you guys don't have to strain going through at this point. What's the other interesting one here? Data protection here. It again just tells you what it is up here, and then it gives you some of the AWS services that fall under data protection. Amazon Macy is one of my best services. Cloud HSM, Certificate Manager. This is for like KMS. Secrets Manager, Detective. Detective is just another solution that does kind of a detective role. It checks and makes sure that nothing is really open to the public, or there's nothing that's not configured right. Then we do have AWS Artifact, and then we have Audit Manager. So these are all out on the internet. You guys can just, you can go through that line by line and see what they are. Or if you have access to a console, you can go inside and play around with them and see, kind of learn what they do. Let me go back to the other mod. This is very nice. Jackie talked about it last time, and I was laughing about this. It's about cost. What was the other guy who gave the presentation last time? What was his name again? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I think it's Altini.
Yeah, Albertine, right. Yeah. So he talked about cost, right? Cost is a very big issue when it comes to cloud computing. People want to know, how much am I spending on my workloads every day? Am I making a profit or am I making a loss? Should I stay on-prem or should I move to the cloud? What services are running? Do I need to have XYZ EC2 instances that are running and maybe they're not being used, but I'm spending about $200 per day. So I'm gonna demo about this too, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about this. This guy here on the right side, the guy is asking, how did you end up in poverty? Were you doing drugs or were you gambling? And then the guy says, oh no, I left an EC2 instance on. So the guy had an EC2 instance running. It ran for so many days or so many months. He lost a lot of money and he became poor and ended up on the streets. So this little thing here just kind of cracks me a little bit. It's a nice meme. But as I said, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to show you guys on how to set up thresholds and how to monitor how much you're using in your cloud, in your AWS cloud, and how much kind of what you need to do to kind of get notifications when you're going over your budget limit. I think I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, this way I'm going to jump into a live demo. Let me get out of here. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have any personal accounts, or maybe you guys are using accounts provided from work, or like, I don't know how you guys do it in Kenya, but this is my personal account. I'm gonna go ahead and log in. So this is how it looks like. You basically have your account ID up here. I'm using my username. Remember, I'm not using a root account because it's just a bad practice to do that. And then of course I have a password right here. So I'm gonna go in and putting my account number, 12-digit number, and then go ahead and sign in. Okay, telling me it's not correct, that's fine. What happened? Okay, let me try this. Okay, let me go back here. That's my username. That's my password. Okay, let me type it in. All right, so this is AWS console. I'm inside my private account. Can you guys see my private account?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just default settings in my account here, so you guys don't have to worry about this. But the most important part here is services. See up here, this is what AWS has to offer. So we are only been about 200 services right now. You can, depending on what you're trying to do, you can leverage any of these services. Like down here, you can do databases, which are like RDS systems. You can come here and do machine learning. You can come down here and do migration and data transfer. You can do robotics. You can do everything you want to do. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to demo, I'm going to start demoing the billing aspect of it, money. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up a threshold. So this is my billing right now. So it looks like, if you guys can see my screen, is it big enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've set my budget to about $15 a month. Okay. So it looks like so far I'm going to be using about $15.68 this month of November. But if you look at here, I've only used $5.82 since November 1st. If you come down here, it's going to kind of gives me different. I can, if I click on view here, it tells me what I'm spending on each and every resource or service. So like CloudTrail, I'm spending $1.77. CloudWatch, I haven't spent anything. The most expensive resource that I've spent so far is the VPC down here, which is $2.50. So I've set up mine. I get about a bill of about $15 per month. So that's really what I can do per month because it's my own private account. But if you want to set up a limit, so you're going to come here on the left side and do budgets, right? This is very good because last time when we were talking about running instances, EC2 instances or other services that end up going over your budget, and your boss is going to be asking you like, how come we're spending $100,000 per month instead of $50,000 per month? So what you have to do just to monitor that, you might want to set up a budget. Okay, so you come here. This is my existing budget here. I'm going to go ahead and create a budget really quick. Click on that and brings up this next form. It's kind of like a template form. I prefer doing customize, so I click on customize, and then I pick the first one here that says cost budget, and then I do next. Okay. So right now it's going to ask me what name do you want to call it. So I'm just going to call it Vint2. Okay. And then it's asking me here what period do you want to do, monthly or do you want to do daily or do you want to do quarterly? I just prefer monthly because monthly is, it's per month. And of course, I'm going to I'm gonna say it's gonna be recurring budget. I'm gonna say start from November, I think November 1st, 2022. I'm gonna leave it as fixed budget. I don't have to do anything there. And then here, I'm gonna set a threshold. Let's say $25 per month. That's the maximum I can spend per month, okay? And then I come down here, I'm just gonna leave these default settings the way they are. And I'm gonna do next. So here it's telling me your budget amount is $25 per month, but I need to add a threshold. So if I go over $25, or if when I start getting to about $20, it's gonna send me an email telling me you are now approaching your threshold. So here I've set it up to 80%, which is about, I don't know, $20. Okay. The trigger is just gonna be up your trigger. I don't have to change anything there. And then I'm gonna tell it to send an email to my email address. When I start getting to 80%, send me an email. Okay. And then the other stuff is I'm just gonna leave the other stuff the way they are. They're default settings. I don't have to do anything. And then I'm gonna do next. So when I come here, it's telling me to review what I've just done. So I'm saying when it gets to 80%, send an email to this email account. And then I'm just gonna do next. And then I'm gonna have to review it again. So this is my budget for the account. That's the name, the date when it's starting, and the amount. And then of course we talked about 80%, and then of course sending an email. And then I just do create the budget. So it's done. It's telling me here, your budget, Vince 2 has been created successfully. So this budget here, Vince 2, is always gonna be sending me an email when I go over, when I'm almost getting to 25%. And this is how you guys can also leverage the same thing and do wherever you're working. You can set it to, I don't know what, 100,000 Kenyan shillings or $500,000. And when it starts getting to that point, it's gonna start warning you something is really happening. And that's the time you start looking into your workload and see what's really making the budget growth at that faster rate. So that's what I was gonna demo in terms of billing, because last time we talked about money and billing. Billing is a big issue, okay? So that's done for the billing. Is there a question?
Yeah. Quick one. When it comes to billing, can you put any action on it, like stop the services that are running or is not a recommended action, like stopping the service?
You might not do it in billing, but there are other services you can turn on to stop services that are running, but you might not be able to do it in billing section here. Billing is just gonna send you an email and can kind of let you know what's going on, but there's a service called, oh boy, I forgot the name. If you have EC2 instance that you're not using, that service is gonna go in and kind of, schedule those services and say, use my EC2 instance from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then 6 p.m. to the following morning, overnight, shut it down. And then the following morning, restart it. So that's some of the services you can use to cut down on cost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, cool. So that was on billing, right? Again, as I said, there's so much we can cover here. If I go through all this, we're gonna be here for almost 2 weeks. So I'm gonna kind of do a little bit, just a little bit of some of the demos here. So that was on billing, and the next demo, it's gonna be on, let me see what I can pick here from these services. EC2 instances. This is one of the best areas too. You guys are familiar. EC2 instance is just a server that is running in your environment, right? Like a database or application server or whatever it is. In Kenya, I don't know how long it takes to buy a server from a vendor. Let's say if you're buying it from HP or from who else? IBM. It takes about what, a month or 4 weeks just to do procurement, right? Yeah, because you have to go in and do a purchase order. The order has to be assigned, it has to be approved by accounts people. The chief financial officer has to approve it. And then you take that order and call the vendor to say, okay, send me 4 or 5 servers from, let's say, from HP or from IBM. And then the vendor takes another maybe 2 weeks to prepare those servers and mail them, ship them to your office, right? So in total, it takes about a month just to have a machine, just to order it and have it delivered. And then when it comes to your on-prem data center, you have to configure it again, install all the security services or patches on that machine, add all your service applications, and then turn it back on. So that takes about a month and a half just to have a system ready to go, right? Now with the EC2 instance, with the cloud computing, I think I'm gonna walk you guys on how just to develop or how to spin up, launch an instance in about maybe 5 minutes, okay? 5 minutes, you're gonna have a server running. So I come in here, I do launch instance, right? And then I pick the first option is launch instance. So we are basically building up a database server here or an application server, whichever name you wanna call it. So you come up here and say, call it application server, right? We can call it anything we want. It can be a database machine, it can be a domain controller, it can be anything. And now down here, we have what you call Amazon Machine Images or AMIs. Again, I'm not a Linux guy, I'm always been a Windows guy. So I'm kind of biased here. I'm gonna go with Microsoft. So when you come down here, I'm gonna try to use a lot of free tier services because they are free. Because if you click on down here, you'll find all these services that are supposed to be, that AWS is offering, right? They have all these operating system in different tiers. I'm gonna just use a free tier one for the sake of this demo, because I don't want to spend more money on that. So I'm gonna pick a free tier, the first one. And right here is telling us this is Microsoft Windows Server 2022. It's an AMI ID is right down here, and it's a 64-bit machine. So that's not bad. And then down here, we're gonna pick instance type. This is the type of server that we need to provision or to launch. Now this is very interesting, guys. If you click here, it's gonna show you again free tier machines that you can use for demoing or for learning. I always try to tell people to make sure you're using a free tier machine. Don't use something that's gonna be expensive. Because like right now, if I use this server here, it's about $0.0162 per hour. That's about 2 shillings per hour, something like that. So it's very cheap. If you go down here, if you wanna get really fancy and expensive, these computers are very expensive. There's one that's about, this guy here is a C6A, is $16.17 per hour. So if you do 16 times 24 times 30, that's about what, $6,000–7,000 per month. You don't want to do that. So we come here, we're gonna use this free tier. Is a T2 micro machine. It's a very basic machine, not very fast. Just 1 gig of memory and 1 CPU. So click on that. When it comes to key pairs, I have a lot of key pairs that I've been using in the past. I'm just gonna use the one called demo. So that's the one I have. Then right here I'm gonna make sure it's this EC2 instance is gonna be inside this VPC. That's the default VPC. I think it's IPv4. It's definitely IPv4. And then I'm just gonna leave the default settings the way they are. Everything down here is default, right? So we're about to launch an EC2 instance. We're about to build a machine. And if you look at the time, I think we started about 2 minutes ago. Let's see how long it's gonna take, right? So that's our computer, it's ready to go. I do launch instance. It's building. It's done. So I've just launched an EC2 instance in about 3 minutes, as opposed to 30 days that you can do from on-prem. So you come here, you go to instances, and refresh it. Dashboard, instances. Now, you guys remember the name of our EC2 instance was application server. That's the instance ID. It's terminated for now because there's a setup here. It's a T2 micro. There are no alarms right now. It's now in US East 1B, and it's good to go. So I've just taken about 5 minutes to set up an EC2 instance, as opposed to on-prem days or back days. Back then, when you talk about 4 weeks to order a machine and have it delivered in the office. This is very interesting. This is very cool. It saves time. It's so agile. It's easy to do. You can do it like in 5 minutes. Now, eventually, if I had at workplace, you're going to have maybe down here, you're going to have maybe all different servers listed down here. And that's how your configuration is going to look like. So if you click on this server here, it tells you what's exactly inside the machine. These are the specs. Let me try to move this up here. So these are the specs. The application, the AMI ID, DNS solution. There's a platform with Windows and all that good stuff. So this is the server we were able to spin up in about 5 minutes, as opposed to, again, 4 weeks. Okay. Any question on this? Okay. I'll move to the third demo, right? Storage. Let's talk about where we store all our objects in AWS. Where do we store our objects? You can store an object in an EBS volume, that's within an EC2 instance, or you can store objects in an S3 bucket. S3 buckets are very critical because this is where it's like where the crown jewels are. You know, if you have access to these, you're doomed. And remember, the last guy who had a presentation talked about making sure your buckets are not open to public. I'm going to show you guys on how to do that. I'm going to create a bucket really quick right now, just to show you guys how buckets work. Is there a question? No? Okay. So again, as I said, buckets are for storing objects, right? In AWS, in an AWS environment. So I'm going to come here and say, I want to create a bucket, and buckets, you have to make sure they're secured. That's data at rest. So you have to make sure they have 256-bit encryption. They have all the bells and whistles, and they're not pointing to the public. So right here on the right, where I'm pointing the cursor, is global. Global means the name for the bucket is very unique. You cannot use the word, for example, if I say test, it's not going to take it. Someone has already taken that. Someone has already used the word test somewhere in the world. So it has to be a very, very unique name. You can't share names. You can't do anything. And also, the bucket name is case sensitive. So it has to be all lowercase. So I can't do test. It's not going to take it. Now, for the sake of this demo, guys, I'm just going to do test. And then we go through, we see what's going to happen, right? So the name of the bucket is test. The region, I live in Washington, D.C. area, so East Coast region, I'm going to use Northern Virginia, which is a US East one. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm just going to use the default. I'm going to do SCLs are disabled. That's fine. And then this is now where this is the most critical part. You have to make sure all your buckets are blocked from the internet. Now, AWS have made it so easy because the last, I would say 10 years ago, this feature was not there. So people used to create buckets and they could end up having them open. And when a bucket is open to the public and you have objects in that bucket, they say if it is sensitive data, you're doomed. So they make sure there's this feature here that kind of tells you everything is blocked from public access. Okay. Bucket versioning, I'm not going to enable it right now. It's just one way of keeping multiple variants of objects in a bucket, right? You can have object 1 and object 2. So I'm just going to leave it disabled for now. I'm not going to worry about tags because again, it's just a demo, right? Default encryption is very important here, guys. You always have to make sure you enable encryption. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to use the first one, which is Amazon S3 Managed Keys, which is SSE S3. That tells you it's using 256-bit encryption, so that's good. Think we are good to go. Now, remember, up here, I typed the word test, and buckets are supposed to be global. So let's see what's going to happen. When you do create bucket, it's going to refuse to create it. It's going to say bucket with the same name has already been used. Even if you do test 1, it's not going to take it. It's gonna say this bucket name has already been used. So let's give it a name. Nairobi. Let's call it Nairobi, right? Apparently Nairobi has been used. Someone is using that bucket called Nairobi. So what name can we give it? Give me any name, any Kenyan name.
Kiambu.
What? What did you say?
Kiambu.
Okay, sure. Let's try that. I hope it's not been taken. That seems to be good. So a bucket is called Kiambu, right? Everything's still the same. Encryption is still enabled. We're good to go. Create a bucket. So Kiambu seems to be good. There you go. It's telling me it's been created. So it's good to go. Now, if you look down here, these are my old existing buckets. Some of them are from CloudFormation templates. Some of them are existing other stuff that I've just been doing. So Kiambu is right here. That's our bucket. Okay. If you look at properties, it's going to still be the same thing. Bucket versioning is not enabled, which is fine. Encryption is enabled right here. This is critical. You have to make sure this is enabled. And if you come down here, make sure it's SSE S3 encryption. Permissions, again, I can't say more than this. Make sure everything is blocked. All access is blocked from the outside. And then, of course, just the metrics is what's in there, then the management and access point. Now, let's go into a bucket Kiambu here and upload a file or an object, right? So I'm going to go ahead and okay, I have an object here. So let me go to upload. This is how you move objects into an S3 bucket. So you can do upload, or if they are big objects, you might want to use automated processes. But for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to go and add it. So you're going to do add file, and then look around here. Let me just use this guy here. Open. So S3 test is right here. That's the object we just added right now. The type of the object is text plain, and it's about 4 bytes. So it's a small text file. So that's how you do it, guys. And then come back here to Kiambu. Oh, I didn't even upload it. Upload the bucket, and it's done. So when you come to Kiambu right here, that's our bucket right there, S3 bucket. The object is right here, S3 test.txt file. So this object here, if you go back here, is encrypted by default. Once you add it into an S3 bucket, it gets encrypted by default. So you're good to go. Okay. So that's how you create objects, and that's how you secure. That's how you create S3 buckets, and that's how you secure them using AES 256 encryption, and that's how you make sure they're not pointing to the public. And then, of course, that's how you upload objects into the S3 bucket. Okay. Now I'm going to do something very interesting here on this bucket, because I go back here. I want to delete this bucket. Click on Kiambu. Action. I can't delete it from here. I have to go back to buckets. Okay. I had it. I go back here, click on this guy here, and then say delete. So guess what? Every time you try to delete an object, a bucket, it has to be empty. Remember, we had a file in this. We had a file in the bucket called S3 text. So you have to come in here and delete that object. Now, when you delete an object, it brings up this nice little screen here. It's telling you what needs to be deleted, and you have to come down here and type the word permanently delete object. So I'm lazy at typing. I'm just going to highlight this. I dump it in here, and then I say, wait, I have to highlight it. It's not going to allow me to delete. Can I run here?
You must type it.
Really? That's interesting. I'm lazy, so permanently. I didn't see it. How you type it? Yeah, you're right. Okay. So here you go. Now we can go ahead and delete the object. So it's gone, right? Now, once that's deleted, you have to go back and now delete the S3 bucket. So let's go back here to our bucket, Kiambu, delete. Now, this is another one too. You have to come here and type the word Kiambu. Okay? Delete it. There's a reason why I'm deleting this, why I'm doing this, guys, because I'm going to be talking about CloudTrail in my next demo, and I want to show you guys how the API calls, how I've been calling those APIs and how they're being captured in CloudTrail and being sent to a SIEM for storage, okay? So I think we are done here with buckets, unless you guys have a question or any comment or any question or anything else. Go ahead.
I have a question on buckets.
Sure.
So I think I may have missed something when you were starting talking about buckets. But my question was, the buckets, are they dependent on the machine that you've set up somewhere, or is it something that is attached to now?
The buckets are part of they're in the console. They are part of the they're inside the AWS console. They are being stored. Go ahead.
So is it maybe like a physical storage drive that you normally attach to?
No, it's not. It's a physical storage are called EBS volume. You know, like I don't know if you guys remember in a computer you're gonna have C drive and then you're gonna have D drive, right? Oh no, yeah. C drive, yeah. So an EBS volume is like a D drive in an EC2 instance, right? But a bucket is just a storage solution, totally separate.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other comment? All right, good. I'm going to go to the last demo here, CloudTrail. This is like the core, the most important part of AWS security, because this is what it does: auditing. It does API. Basically, anything that you do in a console, when you log into the console, when you create an EC2 instance, when you shut it down, when you create a bucket, anything you do is being captured in this CloudTrail's dashboard. So down here, I'm going to show you guys some of the events, right? This is what I've been doing for the last, I don't know how many years, but look at the first event. You guys remember I just deleted a bucket called Kiambu, right? So here it's telling me the event name was delete a bucket. That's an API call. It's telling me here the time, today's date and time. My time is 1 o'clock Eastern time. That's my name. That's the event source, and that's the type of resource that I just deleted. An S3 bucket, and the name was Kiambu. So what I'm saying, guys, if you guys have had cases where someone is going to go into the console and do screw around, make mistakes, delete stuff, and then they come out and say, I didn't do it. You guys have heard of that, right? This CloudTrail it captures each and every API call you make. So you can't say I didn't do it. It's going to give you the name. It's going to show you what you did, the timestamp. It's going to show you the name. It's going to show you exactly the resource type and the exact name of the resource. So that's Kiambu. Remember a while ago I went in and deleted a bucket called Kiambu. Now these other ones I just like put evaluations, what I was doing in that bucket. If you scroll down here, you guys remember I added encryption to the bucket, so you can actually, let me do this. So it's telling me here, event name, I put bucket encryption. That's an API call. And then it tells an event ID, which is right there. It tells me the time that I added encryption, the name, that's me, the access key that I used for that, and then it gives you all this other information, and even the source IP that I used. This is the IP address of my machine right now. So I can't come in and say, man, I didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just gonna go and pull all these event logs and say you did all this stuff. So this is very good. It's good for auditing. It's a very good security resource. So that's for that. Let me put this down. So that's a nice one. You guys remember I went in and also created a bucket. It's also reporting on that. So it's telling me here, guess what? Oh, this is another a JSON policy of what I've just done. It kind of gives you all the details of what I did, but in a JSON format. So if you come here, it's giving me details of what I just did. Remember, you went in and set up a bucket. It's going to give me the time. So I can't say I didn't do it, the name, the event, what I did. It's going to give me the address IP that I used, that I came in through, and all this good stuff here. So this is very good for auditing. That's why I wanted us to create, that's why I went in and created the bucket and deleted it, because I wanted to show you guys that it is capturing each and every move that I'm making in the console. Okay. Now, I think I might go back here. I like this. Even when you log into, I think you should be able to tell me when I logged in. Let me see here. Two. Or you can just come here and go up here, look for event name and type in, I think it's login or something, remember. Console login. Remember when I was starting the demo, I had to log into this machine, into the console. So it's telling me here, yes, I captured an API call that is called console login. I like this. So it was at that time that you logged in, the same IP address, event name is right here, and all that good stuff. So you can't say, oh, I never logged into that machine. I was on vacation, but it's going to show you exactly you logged in from that IP address and what you did. Okay. So this is one of the best security tools in Amazon, in AWS console. I might go back here, CloudTrail. This just shows you what it does, and it's basically saying here it's a tool for governance, compliance, and auditing. So it goes back and picks up all the API calls people are making and tells reports on that. And before I even go further, I might say earlier on we talked about SIEM solutions. These logs here, keep going here. Let me go back here. These events here that are being captured right here, they should be sent to a SIEM solution in a company. You should have something external where they're going to that solution, and they're being stored there for maybe 5 to 7 years, depending on the data retention that you guys have. Okay. So that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much it on CloudTrail. I think I did 4 demos right now. So I think if I go back here, yeah, I did budgets, and then we went in and spin up an EC2 instance in like 5 minutes, and then we created an S3 bucket, and then we went into auditing just to show you what we've been doing. So I think I'm gonna switch back to the demo really quick. Let me go back to here. Career in AWS Cloud Computing. I think you guys, I can bet that you guys are so much interested in getting into AWS, or if you're already not doing it, you want to get into cloud computing. So I always say this is the certification part, right? Well, first thing you might want to do, if you can afford to have an account, go back here. Guys, if you can afford to have an account, like what I have here, you can have access to all these services and make sure they are free tier services. And you can spend about, let me go back here. or maybe if your workplace can allow you guys to have a test account just for these kind of things, that can really help. So when it comes to cloud computing training and getting into the cloud, I would suggest if you can afford, again, to get an account, do it, but then do certification. Now, if you look at the bottom here, there's foundational certification. This is the easiest part, easiest exam. I think it's about 50 questions. I don't know how, I mean, go back here. And I press on something. Yeah, so I would really suggest you start with this guy down here, right? Cloud practitioner. It's a very easy exam. You can do, you can study maybe what in a week and go and do it. Now, once you're done with this, now when it comes to associate level, you need to decide if you want to be a solutions architect, like if you're going to be dealing with networking stuff and hardware stuff, VPCs and other stuff. You might want to go this route here. If you want to be a sysadmin, you want to go with this certification right here. And if you want to be a developer, programmer, DevOps guy, CI/CD pipeline, you may want to go with this guy here. Now, when you're done here, the next one should be professional. So solutions architect, the professional one is just solutions architect. If you want to do DevOps, you want to become a DevOps engineer, that's going to be the professional exam for these guys here. Okay. Now, if you want to be a specialist, okay, like myself, I have this security specialty exam. I did maybe, I think last year. You may want to also get into these areas here. You can do data analytics. You can do data. You can be a database specialist. You can do Alexa skill builder. That's a lot of programming. You can get into machine learning and artificial intelligence and do this exam here. But I would just let you guys know these are very hard exams. This area here is very hard. But if you can clear these areas here, you should be able to do this. You should be able to pass these exams easily. Any questions on certifications? So the path, as I said, is basically have an account if you can afford it, or if you have a place at work, maybe some workplaces have what we call a sandbox environment, where they have like a playground. They have an account where people can go in, create accounts, and play around. You can do that. What's the question again? Go ahead.
So what is the cost of the foundation exam?
Good question. About, I think if last time I checked was about $85. I think something like that. Yeah, but you can get that information online. It's not more than $100. But when you start getting up here, I think it was about $300 each or whatever it is. And then you might also do, you might also maybe buy books, so which is going to add to the cost. And you might also even subscribe to some of the online courses. But I think the cloud practitioner, if I'm not wrong, it should be less than $100. But you can always check on Amazon AWS site. I think they have the cost and everything. But as I said, man, if you've been doing some cloud work for a year, this is a very easy exam. You can do it. You can do it with your eyes closed. Any other comment, question? Okay. I think that's the second last slide for me here. I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, so I put some references here. Some of them are for certification. Some of them are just generous things you guys can, you can look through, like this second one is on security reference architecture, SRA. It's a very nice information. They have very nice information here. I also threw in Microsoft also. They have a very good security 101. Very nice. I mean, I liked it. I went through last night. It's very good. And then down here, these two here are for training. Udemy. Now, the problem with these two here, you have to subscribe, and it's not cheap. Like a Cloud Guru is about $35 per month. But if you have a company that can pay for you guys, then you don't have to worry about that. Udemy is the same thing, but these guys have very good teaching certification material. Cloud Guru is very good. And then I threw in some of these two. These are just the government, US government links. On like NIST is one of the biggest government research institution, and then FedRAMP is one of the biggest, one of the government security requirements. So, okay, I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any other question or comment, feel free to to ask.
I guess.
What's that? Still there? You still there?
At Victor, any question? Can see your hand up.
Any question? Victor Nyakako?
Yes, Anthony.
What's that?
Yes, so I saw you accessing a console. Yes.
Yes.
We can have a trial. Is that way someone can sign up for a trial? Or is it payable access?
Yeah, it's a payable access. There's a trial. I think it's around 30 days trial, and then after that you start paying for it. But remember I talked about billing. So there's a way in which you can go in and have a startup amount you can start with. But I think there's a 30-day trial, if I'm not wrong, which expires. You can continue with a trial, or you have to adjust to a billing option. Any other question, comment?
I don't think there is anyone with anything to say.
Okay.
Vincent, thank you for an amazing session.
Oh, Cyrus Machora.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Mine is just a comment, and maybe perhaps you might advise for us people who are now venturing into cloud professionals on which way to follow so that we can at least be like you or more than you.
Okay, that's a big question. It's a wide one. First of all, pick the cloud vendor you want to go with, because you can't be okay. There are people who are good in Azure, AWS, and GCP, right? Just pick one. Pick AWS or Azure or GCP and just learn it very well. Once you learn it very well, cloud, like what Jackie said last time, is just like having two different cars, right? So you have a Mercedes car, you have a Toyota, you have a Subaru, right? When you go when you want to drive it, it's going to be it's a car, but you just things are different. Like the steer wheel is the other side, or the wipers on the other side. So pick one vendor and just specialize on that vendor, and then you can kind of start moving into other cloud providers.
All right.
I'm kind of biased. If you want, you can start with Amazon Web Services, AWS. Go with AWS. Buy some books. Get an account and start learning. Start spinning some of those services, and just make sure you put a billing budget. You don't want to go over the amount you can afford. When that's done, you may want to now start looking into getting certified. So once you get certified, get certification, and then now you start understanding how things are being done.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Victor Courier.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, could you maybe mention something about serverless in terms of maybe cost and security compared to running normal servers?
You mean servers in the cloud?
Yeah, because
Versus on-prem?
nowadays we are seeing a lot of people advocating for, like we just moved to serverless. Even our databases should be run on serverless servers. And yeah, in terms of cost, maybe is it cheaper? Is it maybe more efficient?
I would say it's more agile. Remember, I don't know if you remember, I took 5 minutes to spin up an EC2 instance, right? As opposed to what, 5 weeks of buying it. Now, once you have it in your AWS console, just make sure you are monitoring how much you're spending. There's a third party called Cloud Checker. Cloud Checker is an American company, and what they do is you tie it into your AWS environment, into your workloads, right? What it does is it's going to give you an inventory of what you have in the environment, what's being used, and what's not being used. Okay. So every month it's going to be sending you a report saying, hey, Victor, you're spending $2,000 on these 2 servers, but you're not even using them. So you have to go in and decide if you want to shut them down or not. So you might want to also tie in some third-party solutions like Cloud Checker or some other solutions out there to monitor your environment, cut down cost.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Edwin Otieno. So any other question, or I think we're good to go here? Cyrus Machora, go ahead.
Now the presentation that you just done, maybe you can, where can we get the presentation so that we can go through it once more?
Yeah, I was gonna ask Fraser, how do you do it, Fraser?
So what's gonna happen once you share it? We'll be able to share it in the Hack the Box Kenya Discord.
Okay. Should I send it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll email it or send it to you in LinkedIn.
Awesome.
And one thing, guys, I'm on LinkedIn. I didn't share my LinkedIn account, but if you guys want to reach out, I think Fraser has my account. We're already connected, so he can give you my contacts and you guys can reach out. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna add it into the slides for, when I give them to Fraser, so you can send me an invite and we can connect on LinkedIn.
I've shared the link in the box.
All right, I've seen it. Anything else? Are we good? Are we done here?
I think we're good.
Okay.
A great session. Looking forward to further questions, and in case anyone has a question in regards to the same, you can always start a conversation similar to that on the various platforms that are there. Also feel free to reach out to Vincent. Guys, knowledge, we keep on sharing it, and yeah, it's always important to share it. So looking forward to it as well.
Okay. All right, cool.
So I think we can end. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend and great evening. Then you can check HackTheBox Kenya YouTube. There was a video Albertini did on cloud security, has been uploaded. So if you missed out, you can check it out.
All right. All right, good. You guys have a good night. A happy Friday. Good weekend.
Likewise.
All right, thank you.